It's a great day in SimWorld, everybody. Good morning and welcome to SimWorld today on a Friday. I'm B-Ron and joining me, just like yesterday, Rick Blaze. Welcome back on your normal Friday episode, man. Good morning. Good to have you here.
B-Run is Freaky Friday. You know we getting into it. A lot has happened on yesterday. You know it did. We got to start it off. How we got to start it off? Let's start it off.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's jump right into it. Number one is no more because
Wow.
Miami lost last night to the Florida Gators in what I'm calling the swap game. They ended up swapping arenas to play at. Ended up going to Miami. Miami was the away team in the game still, but it didn't matter one bit. Florida came in there and beat them on their home court, even though they were still the home team in that game. And this was a really, in my opinion, a dominating game from Florida, especially on the defensive side of the ball. That was really where the Gators made their mark in this one on the defensive end. Jackson Glenn really impressed on the defensive side of the ball. Trey Willis did a good job offensively. It was all around good performance from Florida, and I think they kind of put the blueprint out for how to beat Miami. Thoughts?
It was a really great game by Florida. I think what helped Florida was the fact that everything surrounding the state of Florida right now. I think they put a little more juice in the pack for those kids, right? But something like when you're going through situations like that, two things are going to happen. Either it's going to be a terrible situation. Either the team is going to come and just lay down because there's a lot going on, and that's understandable, or they're going to rally around each other and play outside of themselves. And I think that's what we saw yesterday. If Florida and Miami was to play 10 times, Miami's probably winning 7 out of those 10. But on last night, Florida rallied the troops. They all bonded together. They got a little extra juju on them, and they pulled out the victory. Either way you slice it, Miami is no longer number one. That title to me, in my non-humble opinion, belongs to Tennessee now. But we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah, we will definitely get back to that for sure.
So is that so? So I guess I'm sorry. So did Florida put out the blueprint on how to beat Miami? Yes and no. I mean, you can know the run is coming, but when number 22, Big Henry get the ball, you still got to tackle him. That's a whole nother issue by itself. So knowing how to do something and actually doing it, two totally different things.
That's fair, and I did make that point towards the end of the broadcast last night. I said, yeah, Miami may have put out the blueprint on how to beat, or Florida may have done it, but not everyone's gonna have the ability to do that to Miami.
And so Trey Willis was special last
cases. Night. Yes, he really was. 22.
Trey Willis was special last night. He was
22 points. He had 5 assists, 7 rebounds, and a steal. But also, Masena Warnick was really good too. A double-double, 11 points, 12 rebounds. He did his thing. Tyshawn Esom also 12 points, 6 boards. Florida had a lot of things go their way last night for sure. They really, really did. But like I said, not everyone's gonna have the ability to do to Miami what Florida did, especially on the defense side. Not everyone has a Jackson Glenn. Not everyone has, a Grable who can come off the bench and get you, a plus 14 differential. That's a huge thing to have. So great win for Florida all around, and interested to see how the rankings shake out once we get there. And speaking of rankings, the other game last night, the other broadcasting game last night, was the one that you were on the call with the Dan McMahon, and that ended up not being a good one either. Unfortunately, it started off that way, it really did, but second half, Tennessee kind of pulled away, and number 3 Tennessee ends up beating number 8 Kansas 85-67. Trey Turner is doing Trey Turner things, man. Continuing to do Trey Turner things. It was insane for him last night.
Let me tell you, number 12 for Tennessee is on a mission, and he's like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. It looks like it's not going to work, but by the end of the movie, you already know he's going to win. At the end of the movie, you know he's gonna complete the mission and get the girl. So That's just burn the Turner, man. I mean, Kansas, number 8 coming into the game, had a good shot. It was close. It was really, really. It was up. It was a back and forth game for the whole first half. And at some point, it just. I mean, they just start slowly pulling away, and before you know it, they had lapped them. And once Tennessee gets up, the tempo changed, and I said that on the call. Kansas, it was best in their interest to keep the game up tempo, mid tempo at best. They slowed the tempo down. And when they slowed it down, that favored Tennessee. Half court game. It got Tennessee in their sets. My man Turner started coming off screens, down pins. The Kansas players wasn't even switching. They wasn't even talking. Before you know it, kapow! And then they try to come out again, and my man come off another screen and pump fake. Kapow! It was just shot after shot after shot, and the dude wasn't missing. He couldn't miss. We couldn't pay him to miss last night because he couldn't miss. It was crazy. It was Trey Turner doing Trey Turner things. He's arguably, it's probably ain't much of an argument, the best shooter in all of SimWorld.
We'll get to that because I remember the Gerald Carroll had his big game. But I will agree with you. I will agree with you there. I think that Trey Turner is the best shooter in SimWorld Prep.
I think
SimWorld
there's
U rather. No ifs,
3.
ands, or buts about it.
I want to say Trey Turner. I'm not gonna say the Jared Carr right now, but that Cam Jones guy,
Cam Jones, yeah.
he can fill. He he can fill up a bucket of water too. He can fill up a bucket of water too. Yeah,
he sure can. He sure can, man. And it wasn't just Trey Turner who did a lot because he did do a good chunk of it, but we also have to look at Kyrie Doak as well. He grabbed 14 rebounds in that game last night. That is one of those things where that's insane production, and when you compare it to a guy like Henrik Bekic, who you would think would be the one to be grabbing those 14 rebounds, it just didn't work out for him. But it didn't matter too much at all.
It didn't. Not this game. Now I did see somewhat of a flaw in Tennessee's game. Again, seeing it and exploiting it is two totally different things. But the inside game, is not as strong as I would have liked for it to be. I think there are going to be some matchups where Vekic and friends can take advantage offensively against some of the softer or weaker interior teams. But those solid interior teams, Tennessee is going to struggle to get anything offensively on the inside, right? So now it's going to come down to, can the team's guard and wings contain all the action happening with Tennessee's guards and wings? If they can, you have a chance against Tennessee. Now you got to come back on the other side and do it against them. Their defense they play really good team defense. They don't have excellent man-on-man guys, but as a team, their team defense is really good. If they get you in a half-court set, it's going to be hard to beat them. Like I said, I see a flaw, but can you exploit the flaw? It's a whole different thing. Tennessee, they're number 1 in your hearts, baby. They should be number 1 in the AP, and they should be number 1 in your hearts. They've earned that right. Sorry, number 2.
Well, look, let's get to that, Rick. That's a good segue. Let's get to that because with everything that has happened over the last, couple of days to end the week here in SimWorld U, that's the big question, right? Who is number 1? Who should be number 1? Who should be the new Smitty Werberman Jansen? He was number 1. Who should be that? Who should be that? We got UCLA.
Yeah,
UCLA had their big game, against Iowa State. And Legero Carroll went crazy. It's a school record for 3-pointers in the game, 11. You've also got Alabama, who's looking pretty good to start the season as well. With DJ Childs and the boys down there, they're looking pretty good. They're making the case to be number 1. And then, of course, I don't, Kentucky also in the conversation. I feel like they're in that top 5 range. Duke lost. They're number 2, so they're not in the conversation. And then you mentioned Tennessee, so let's look at the top 5 right now. Right now it's Miami, Duke, Tennessee, UCLA, Kentucky. Miami and Duke both lost, so they're out. They're gonna be dropping down. Is Tennessee at 3 jumping up to 1, or is UCLA taking that spot? Is the new number one is the new 1 through 3 gonna be Tennessee, UCLA, and Kentucky at 1, 2, and 3? Or
I think
who
that's
is
it.
it? That's
I
it?
think that I think that's it. I think the quality of wins that Tennessee has put together, not only the quality of wins, but how they're beating teams. Right? You go into UConn and you beat up on UConn number 9, and then you do what you do. Uh,
To
I mean,
Kansas?
I don't. Yeah, to
Yeah.
Kansas number 8. Those 2 top 10 teams you just beat up on. Now it wasn't close. It wasn't. It was a landslide. You know what I'm saying? It was a landslide. You beat them up badly. 2 top 10 teams, bro. No one else right now on their resume has a resume better out of those 5 teams that you've listed. None of those 5 teams have a resume better than Tennessee's right now, this early in the season. So at number 3, I don't see how they don't jump number. I love me some Kentucky. I really love me some Jameson Johnson, but not quite yet. The type of quality of win doesn't equate to me. I love you. UCLA plays well. The quality of wins doesn't relate. The only team that has a quality of wins type of situation that I can consider would be Alabama, but they're coming from 7. So I can't go from 7 all the way to 1. I might go from 7 to like maybe 4, right? I can
Maybe
get you in
4,
that
yeah.
top 5, but I can't get you all the way to 1. Tennessee to me is undoubtedly, unquestionably number 1 in my book.
So before last night, before the games happened, I said if Tennessee doesn't beat Kansas, then UCLA is number 1 for me. But after what happened last night, after sleeping on it a little more, thinking about it a little more, there's no question for me that Tennessee's number 1. Like you said, the quality of wins is what makes the difference for me as well. And I think that's what's going to matter more to the voters in the FP Top 25 when that comes out next week. Because when it comes to college sports, especially, that's what matters most. I feel like when it comes to where you rank in those various polls is the quality of your wins. UCLA went out and they trounced Iowa State, and they made it look like the UConn women days when they were blowing out teams 122-0. You know what I mean? Doing crazy like that. But that's Iowa State. You should do that to Iowa State. Those things you should be doing. Tennessee beating both, like you said, UConn and Kansas the way that they did. That's impressive. Those are games that should be neck and neck closer because you're both in that top 10 range of teams. But that's not what happened. Tennessee went out there and they really put it on both of those teams, and it wasn't close. It was close at a point, but Tennessee was able to pull away in those games, and that makes a huge difference for Tennessee. So
Absolutely. And they did it again. They did it on their home court. They did it on the opponent's home court. It didn't matter. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Tennessee has earned the right. Now it also helps a little bit B-Run. I have to be fair because I don't want it to come out later on in the news and then I have to retract my statements. I have to be fair. Tennessee, I did strike a deal with one of the Tennessee companies. I do get a free bottle of whiskey every week. They're number 1, so there's that. But that point aside, they've earned the number 1. And personally, I hope they stay number 1 for the rest of the season, so my cabinet can look really, really nice. But for now, I just take it when the new APs come out. Do the right thing. Do the right thing.
Yeah,
Tennessee number 1.
make the number 1. Well, look, that's it. We had a great show today, Rick. Thank you for joining me. As always, I appreciate you very, very much, my friend. Marshall will be back joining us next week on the show. He'll be taking over the host chair from me. I know, man. I know.
Gotta
Well,
go
look,
back to Marshmallow.
yep, you're Marsh. Be back in the chair
Okay.
next week with him. Well, you might have a guest on Monday. We'll see how that goes. But look, in the meantime, you all do what you always do. Like the video, subscribe to the channel so you know when all of our shows, games, videos, all that stuff go live for you here on SimWorld TV. The only place you can see the game, be the game, and we'll see you all on Monday.
Peace.
This has been a presentation of SimWorld Sports.